Hey, this is Warren from Taming Sorry, and you're listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Jason.
You are listening to On the Fly.
What's up, guys? On the Fly is back again tonight. And tonight, man, I never in a million years thought I would find somebody to do a top 10 list like the one we've got tonight. But guys, tonight we have top 10 Weird Al Yankovic songs. And with me tonight is Mr. Brad Rusthoven from the Slamfest Podcast. And Brad, I'll tell you how I found out he was a Weird Al fan. I follow him on Facebook, his group, and Brad does a lot of polls and a lot of like you pick which songs off this album or which side off one album that you like better. And you know, there were several up there that I knew about, some I didn't know about. Brad has a vast knowledge of music. I'm telling you guys, vast knowledge of music. But then he comes up one day, surprise, and I look up there and he does almost like a whole week of Weird Al. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I reached out and got him on the show. Welcome to the show, Brad. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Stevie. Thanks for having me on and thanks for reaching out. Yeah, it was kind of in the middle of those polls. You're like, I'm loving this stuff and and would love to have you on to do a top 10. And I said, absolutely. Yeah, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. Talk a little bit about how long have you been doing the Slamfest podcast? Talk a little bit about how long you've done it and what it consists of, what you do, because it's really a unique concept. What you do. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been doing it since June of 2020. So yes, 2020, right in the middle of COVID.
Oh yeah.
Which, good timing to do that because concerts were had come to a screeching halt, and I thought, and I've been thinking about it for probably a year actually, Stevie, trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted it to be structured. But yeah, first episode was in June. And so I'm dropping episode 161 tomorrow.
Wow.
And so, yeah, the concept is I'm going through my concert chronology from my first show, and I've been to hundreds and hundreds of shows. So this could go for a while. And as I see shows, when shows started happening again, I started to insert them, and it really lends itself to those. I mean, it's fun to go back, obviously, and look at past shows, but as I see stuff, I try to get it out, as close to real time as possible. And, go through the set list, go through the experience of just going to the show and pre-gaming and all of that. But then I dive into the artist, put albums up against each other. And then the closing segment is which side are you on?
Right.
Take one of their albums and put side one up against side two. So yeah, the tagline, we bring the premier rock concert pre-gaming experience from the parking lot to the podcasting airwaves. Right. And that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah.
And you think, guys, it would be simple and easy to pick a side, but yeah, when you get to sitting there thinking about it, I'll be sitting there looking, I'm like, huh. Now some are easy, but some are not so easy picking a side. You feel like so Weird Al. I'll talk a little bit about how Weird Al came into the picture for me. So back in the early 80s, the whole Michael Jackson Thriller craze starts. And, I'm a diehard Kiss fan. And I never, but by that time, I'm still into Kiss, but by that time, I'm listening more to the radio. We didn't have cable here, so there was no MTV here. So I'm dependent on the radio a lot and Friday night videos. But all of a sudden, I'm big time into the Michael Jackson craze, like everybody else, I think. And all of a sudden you hear on the radio, when I heard it, because it starts off in a different key than Beat It. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And you start hearing this guy up there singing about eating food and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is pretty funny. And next thing you know, I've got my allowance money. I go out and buy Weird Al Yankovic in 3D on cassette. And I wore that cassette out. I mean, there were so many great songs on there. And I became a fan, and I have been a fan all these years of Weird Al. I mean, and to hear the guy talk, and I've never met him in person, never seen him in concert, but he seems like a genuine and great guy from what you see on TV. So how did Weird Al come into the picture for you?
Yeah, so very similar. We were talking before you hit record. We're around the same age. So yeah, MTV, and again, it was perfect timing, when he came on the scene with the music video. Because without the videos, I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm not sure he would have been definitely quite as big as he was, because the mocking and the parodies of the videos were so funny. So yeah, I mean, and people, what's he gonna do next, right? What's that type of thing. And I feel like it was probably Eat It, but I want to say I Lost on Jeopardy was
that was another good one
around this, or kind of around that same time, which I probably saw first. And then so I met my future wife in the fall of '93, and she's a huge Weird Al fan.
Oh, wow.
And a huge Monkees fan. So she saw the Monkees and Weird Al in like '87 or whatever, that they did that tour
tour, yeah. I'm a big Monkees fan too. I love
Oh yeah. So I bought her the what is that, permanent record, Al in the box set that came out in like '94. Right. I bought that for I think a birthday or something. And then we saw him in 2007, and then we took the kids in 2016 and 2019. So I've seen him actually 3 times.
Wow.
And yeah, we were talking about his original stuff and his I like a little bit of everything with him. And yeah, I think he's absolutely brilliant.
He's
gotta be. I mean, it's amazing. So yeah, big fan.
When you hear my number one, the number one on my list amazed me so much. I mean, and I'd been, like I said, we were talking a little bit before. We kind of favor the era of the '80s, the early days. But when this one came out, I was just amazed, and I was like, "Yeah, holy crap!" And but that he could come up with fit that song and to fit the subject like that, I don't know how he does it. I mean, it's hard enough to write an actual song, but then to do a parody of that song dealing with another subject, yeah, he's got to be brilliant. What did you think of the Weird Al movie?
Oh, the UHF thing?
No, I'm talking about the Weird Al story. Have you watched that?
Oh no, I haven't even seen that.
I have not watched it. People were, I watched about 10 minutes of it, and I forgot what happened, and it was different. It was different, and I quickly figured out, because I was going in thinking this is going to be a biopic, and yeah, it's
not.
I won't give away too much of it, but I won't give away too much of it. UHF, UHF, that was a cult classic. You couldn't have, because I can remember renting that from the video store, and I was like, Weird Al, it's got to be good. And it was good. It didn't get the reception he wanted, but I still think it's a great movie.
Yeah, cult classic. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into it. Guys, this is not what we think are the greatest. This is our 10 favorite songs, Weird Al. You may have something different, by all means. If you're a Weird Al fan out there watching, share us your top 10 list. Get it in here, and we will definitely talk it down for you. So you're the guest. You're number 10. I'll let you start off.
Yeah. So as we were talking off air a little bit, I wanted to be able to give some original stuff and parody stuff. And I, for the most part, I stayed away from the Eat It's and the Fats and the, that stuff is classic. I kind of wanted to dive again. The parodies aren't deep cuts by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not the big ones. But anyway, so I'm gonna bounce back and forth kind of between parodies and originals as I go through. But let's so number one, My Bologna. And I mean, it's absolutely perfect. The combination of the accordion and the lyrics and just that song in general, it just lends itself so well to a parody because everybody knows it. Everyone starts bopping their head when that song comes on, and just absolutely just classic, So
and to hear the story about when he actually got to meet the lead singer of the Knack, which is responsible for My Sharona. And right next to the lead singer of the Knack was the president of Capitol Records, who goes out and signs it to a record deal. It worked out pretty well for him. So My Bologna. Yeah. And you got to think, what was going through this guy's head when he said, you know what? I think My Sharona needs new lyrics. I mean, that's and what are we going to talk about with it? What rhymes with Sharona but Bologna? So like I said, brilliance. I would have never thought it in a million years to get to redo that song like that. So My Bologna is your number 10.
I mean, and the pre-chorus, never gonna stop, ate it up. Such a tasty snack. I'll always eat too much and throw it up, Great. Brilliant.
Yeah. And my number 10 is not a parody. You're going to see a lot probably from this one album. I think I've got several from this one album and from Weird Al and 3D. Mr. Popeil.
Oh yeah.
Which was a tribute to the father and son inventors, Sam and Ron Popeil. It was, and the thing about it is, I'm not that big of a B-52s fan, and this was in the style of like Rock Lobster, and I mean, I don't know why it stuck with me, but it always stuck with me from the first time I listened to it on cassette. Yeah, and we're dating ourselves there, guys, if you don't know what a cassette is, but and actually, Mr. Popeil's sister, Ron Popeil's sister, was hired as a backing vocalist on this track, and then she's gone on and sang several of background on several of his songs. So he's a very loyal guy. I mean, like Bermuda Schwartz, he's been with him for a long time. The guy that's and I can't remember the guy's name that does the drums, but he was the one that played. He said, I just need somebody to bang on my guitar case to record the song, and he said. 30, 40 years later, he's still playing drums for me. So, but yeah, Mr. Popeil was one that just stood out for me, and that's going to be my number 10.
Nice.
So
nice. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna bounce over to some originals or an original and kind of go back and forth. But so sticking with the first album, I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead. Love it. Upbeat. Again, accordion is right there. But I mean, just the lyrics. He's just, I've got lots of time to be laid back when I'm 6 feet underground. And then I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead over and over and over. Just, I always dug that. And I think I noted I'll tell you, now is the time to go for all the gusto you can grab. You'll have plenty of time to be low key when you're laid out on the slab. It's great stuff.
I would love to pick his brain just to hear what goes through what kind of process he goes through when he does these songs. I mean, not just the parodies, but the original. Yeah. To hear and who would have ever thought that a guy playing an accordion would be such a big hit with I was listening to it. I was like, what the heck? And I mean, yeah, but 30, 40 years later, I'm still a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. There was something about incense and no Joni Mitchell 8 tracks in his car, it's, you go back to the parodies. And so when he hears these songs, right, does he, the originals, does he just in his head, is he hearing
exactly
these lyrics? I don't know how he does it. And then, with the originals, he's being quirky and he's coming up with some funny subject matter and throwing some lyrics to it. But
because you'll hear later on about some of the artists that say that when they go to sing their songs, they've listened to the Weird Al so much that his lyrics get stuck in their head and they almost mess up when they're performing in concert. So, so I'll be mellow when I do it. So that's 2 from the first album.
Yep.
So number 8 for me, it's a parody. Number 9, excuse me, number 9. And this was probably one of the more controversial ones just because of the story. He always has to get permission from the artist. And this one was a big monster hit back in the 90s, and was told by the record company or artist manager that he had permission to do it. The artist came back later on and said, I didn't give him permission to do it, but whatever, and he was laughing all the way to the bank because he was getting money off of it anyway. And I'm talking about the parody of Gangsta's Paradise, Amish Paradise. And I'm talking about Coolio, the late great Coolio. To see the album cover and to see him with his hair like for Bad Hair Day, his hair like Coolio's, and wow. But I did watch some interviews with him, and he was breaking out some of the songs. And one of the questions about this song, they talked about the Coolio situation, which evidently got settled out later on because I think they made nice, and Coolio, like I said, he got a nice big paycheck because of it. But somebody asked him, well, what do the Amish think of this song? And his response was, I don't know too many Amish people that are watching MTV, so I really haven't got a lot of response from the Amish. But to hear some of the lyrics,
that one is really well
about
done.
Churning butter, I churn butter once or twice, and then the video. Florence Henderson is in the video.
Yes,
and she's playing the Michelle Pfeiffer part there. His parents actually make cameos in there as some of the Amish people. And just reading some of the facts from this, the second last scene of the music video was shot backwards. I did not know this.
Oh, wow.
He had to learn how to sing his lines backwards.
Oh, jeez.
Why? I don't know. I have to go back and watch this to see why. And then the bridge of the song, no phones, no lights, no motor cars, comes from the end credits scene to Gilligan's Island. So, there's a lot of stuff that he puts in there, throwing back to other things, and you'll find out more as this top 10 list goes along. But Amish Paradise for me was number 9. Just a great song.
So you bring up Coolio, and I think you're probably referring to the behind the music they did. I think, right? That's I think where they talked to him, or they had some footage from him, and you mentioned the Knack, and what is it? Doug Feiger? Is that how that's pronounced? I think he's the singer.
I think that's
Knack.
right. Yeah.
And they interviewed him, and he was cool with it, obviously. And I think they interviewed Flythe. Did they talk to Flythe on that too? About
I think so.
Yabba Dabba Dabba, the Flintstones deal.
The Bedrock Anthem.
Yeah, and he was like, it's not. I just didn't think it was that good. That was Flea's comment to it. But
probably better than the original.
Right. I thought Weird Al said, I always, out of respect, I always would contact him, but I don't know if he actually has to get permission. Does he?
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that.
If that's the case or not, but I think he does it out of respect.
Absolutely.
And he wants to make sure nobody's upset with him, because he actually contacted Nirvana when they were performing at Saturday Night Live. He got a friend that worked there that got him a phone call into Saturday Night Live. And he said, Kurt Cobain said, "Oh, what's this going to be about, food?" And he said, "No, it's actually going to be about how nobody can understand what
your lyrics."
Yeah. Right. So, that was, I think he does it out of common courtesy.
And again, Coolio cashed the checks. So.
That's what Al said too. He didn't complain about the checks. So.
Exactly. All right. So let's so back to a parody for me, and I'm going to Even Worse album. And I'm going with I Think I'm a Clone Now. And I always thought that worked. Again, the lyrics are, in addition to if the song I think is catchy. And of course, Tiffany had redone this song and made it huge again. And so he jumped on it. But I mean, there are some great lyrics in there. I Think I'm a Clone. There's always two of me just hanging around. Because every chromosome is a hand-me-down, and I can stay at home while I'm out of town. All that stuff. Just play on words that he does so well. I'm going with that one at number 8. And of course, I was trying to think about this. When was the cloning so much in the news?
I think it was around that time, because then they called the sheep.
Yeah, the sheep. And I was trying to go back and kind of see, when was that such a big deal? And he might have kind of been jumping on top of that.
It had to be sometime in the mid 80s,
like
early 80s, something like that when it happened, because I do remember it. I remember seeing it on the news. But yeah. So he's picking from news. He's picking from a little bit of everything where he gets his ideas from.
Absolutely.
Like I said, what goes through his mind is God. Like I said, I did, and I think I messaged you, told you, I did try to find some contact information for him. Didn't have much luck, but I did. The only thing I could find where I could send a message to was on Instagram, and unfortunately, he is not. Whoever is in charge of that Instagram has not looked at that yet. So
it's not
maybe one day we'll get him on here.
Yeah,
that would
be fun. Oh, it'd be great. Right, yeah.
So my number 8 is another parody, and you can tell I'm a Star Wars fan, and sticking with back then, with Dare to Be Stupid, parody of Lola, Yoda. and as a Star Wars fan, I remember getting Dare to Be Stupid. That was at Christmas time, my grandma would give me money and I'd have to buy what I wanted to. And they would wrap it up and I would act like I didn't know what it was and all that.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, we usually open those presents, and Dare to Be Stupid was one of those presents. I got the cassette and would listen to it Christmas Eve night and hear Yoda come on. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I met the little lad sitting there on a stump. I asked him his name, and in a tiny voice, he said Yoda. And he's somewhat of a Star Wars fan, evidently, because this is not the only Star Wars song that he does, and that'll probably get mentioned later on.
Yeah.
But to do a kink song to Lola about Yoda, and he's pretty much talking about the Empire Strikes Back movie. He talks about his friends getting the vest. And he said, Luke, stay away from the darker side. And how he puts that bridge together like that. Remember when you did it, let the force be your guide. Oh, my Yoda. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is brilliant. But as a Star Wars fan, this was great. But, yeah, Yoda is my number 8.
Yeah, well, this is going to show up later on my list, so I'll save a couple of comments for it. But yeah, the fact that Lola, the subject matter of the original, and then that's just what's so perfect too, is because the subject matter of the original, again, it's such a catchy song, obviously, and then to just twist it into this greatness. It's
definitely. It's
perfect.
So great.
Yeah.
So number 7 for you.
Yeah. So let's see. So I'm going back to an original, and so going to in 3D. So Midnight Star.
Oh yes.
Which obviously content with regards to the tabloids. I want to know. And you can believe it, if you read it in the week's Midnight Star. That stuff growing up, right? The Inquirer, the Star, all that stuff. You see the commercials. You would go to the store with your mom and you'd see them in the checkout lane. And so anyway, just grabbing something that's such a big part of society and
it's something you can relate to.
Yeah.
When he writes this stuff, but it's something you can relate to. And like, I know what he's talking about there.
Yeah. You can read it. You can read it. You can read it. You know, I want to know. I want to know all that stuff. Just inquiring minds want to know, right?
It's funny that you talked about seeing it at the grocery store, because my mom used to take my great aunt and my grandma to the grocery store every week, and I would tag along sometimes and look at my great aunt's grocery list every week. The first thing on that grocery list was the National Enquirer. And let me tell you, she saved every National Enquirer. She had a trunk that you could go through and had all the Enquirers about that. Whatever happened to it, I don't know. But she believed some of that stuff too. Now, some of it she was like, okay, this is a little silly, but most of the stuff in there, it had to be true if it was in the Enquirer. But yeah, Midnight Star. Yeah.
Well, and as big Kiss fans as we are, we know one of the former members was in the Star. That was unbelievable. I can remember my mom bought it, which she didn't ever buy these, but she bought this one because she saw the Kiss headline, and she brought it home to me. And then we saw him on Donahue, that episode of Donahue.
I remember watching that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was home, if it was in the summer or what. I remember watching that episode, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
It was an absolute cluster on that.
And Peter Criss made a good sum amount off suing the Star too. I forgot what the amount was, but he got a good lump sum from them for that.
Yeah.
So, number 7 for me, we talked about it a little bit just before, and this is another parody, and it's Smells Like Nirvana. Remember when this video came out? Because this little town I'm in, I'm in a small town of about 95 people. Never got cable here. Still to this day don't have cable here. DirecTV came along, that was great, but we actually got one of those humongous satellite dishes in our backyard, and when that was right before MTV stopped showing music videos. But when Smells Like Nirvana came out, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's done it again. I think, and some of the stuff we were talking about, when he called Nirvana, he actually, Victoria Jackson, who was in UHF, a friend of his, he gets a call to her. She gets through to Kurt Cobain. He quickly gave permission, and he said, yeah, we talked about it. He said, no, it's not about food. It's about nobody understands your lyrics. Dick Van Patten makes a cameo in this. The janitor and the cheerleaders are the same ones from the Nirvana video. And then there's a line, what were the words? Oh, never mind. Like talk about Nirvana's album, Never Mind. And then the gargling in the guitar solo. Just hilarious stuff, and stuff that you wouldn't think would be so people would like so much, but it was a big hit. It was a big hit for him. Yeah. But Smells Like Nirvana is my number 7.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That video with the marbles in his mouth and the like leading right into the chorus, the sheep noise and the cow noise or whatever, as well. Just those little things that add just a little bit more to it. It's just great. Okay. So back to a parody for me. I'm going to the Off the Deep End album as well. Taco Grande. So, and again, I just think a situation like this where Rico Suave, right? It's supposed to be this sensual, sexual song. He turns it into a song about Mexican food.
Do you think, honestly now, in this day and age, you think he could have got away with that now?
See, I know. I don't, probably not, even though
it wasn't meant that way, but you know how people get so offended about everything.
They probably would have found a way to
if they can find a way to find Pepe Le Pew offensive, they will find a way to make Taco Grande.
Yeah, exactly. But I just thought, again, turning that sexual song into a song about Mexican
Oh,
food,
yeah,
and just and delivering it obviously the
cool.
exact same way. It's just fantastic.
It's amazing. I mean, that one was one that is in my honorable mentions episode right
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you can't go wrong. It just kills me though. That's why I'm so glad I found somebody that has the same love for the Weird Al songs like I do. So yeah, Taco Grande. Number 6 for me, and I think this is more of a nostalgia for me because this is another one off in 3D, and this is an original. Uh, Talking about the last song on in 3D, I believe it's the last song, "Nature Trail to Hell."
Fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, and the thing was, and we talk about how he always would put little things in there to current events, like I think I'm a clone now. But there was one little thing in the song that I didn't know about till I started doing my research. Around a 3 minutes and 40 second song into the song, Weird Al can be heard saying something in reverse. I don't know if you knew about this or not.
No.
When played backwards, it's revealed to be Satan eats cheese whiz. And this was made as a jab at the scare made during the satanic panic during the 80s, claiming that heavy metal music contained satanic messages when played backwards. So he intentionally puts Satan eats cheese whiz in this song. But Nature Trail to Hell, it's kind of like, it's not a parody, but it talks about like all these horror movies
Yeah.
from the 80s and stuff like that. But maybe it's just nostalgia for me. I remember finishing that album or finishing that cassette and hearing this. I was like, this guy is freaking a genius. He can come up with anything. But I've got to go back to listen to Satan Eats Cheese Whiz now.
That's great. You bring up the horror, the content basically kind of about horror movies. Do you think the people that were doing the parodies of the horror movies in the 90s, I wonder if they were influenced by Weird Al? They have to be almost, right? I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's like Weird Al doing, you think of Scream and, the original Scream even, and it's like, some of this stuff could be in a Weird Al song.
Well, you think about it. How many movie parodies did you see back in the? I mean, I'm sure there was some,
but not many.
There's one that pops in my head. Saturday the 14th.
Yeah, I remember that.
And of course, Airplane parodied all the airport movies. But there wasn't many of those like it was back in the 90s. 90s, I think about every movie had a parody.
Yeah, big time. And I think those were people piggybacking on what Weird Al had done in the 80s with the music. So there you go. All right, so back to an original, and we talked about you were talking about the recent movie, the Weird Al movie, and I threw out UHF, but the title cut, UHF, the song.
Oh, wow.
Don't change that channel. Don't touch the dial. We got it all on UHF.
I hadn't watched that for a long time. And, like I said, small town here, we had nothing but satellite internet till about a year and a half ago. When we got it, I don't think I came away from the TV for like a week.
Yeah.
Just streaming stuff.
Catching up. Yeah.
UHF was one of them. And I saw it where I could watch it. I was watching again. I was like, why in the world did this movie do better than it did? But, cult classic, just like Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Right.
It's so funny. It's got funny part. And, I'm not saying UHF was bad like Kiss Meets the Phantom was bad. I mean, that was bad, but it was so bad it was good.
So bad it was good, right?
Yeah, but UHF, okay.
But I think it's just I think it's a great song. I mean, if it wasn't even a Weird Al song, I think it's just a good pop rock song. Has a good guitar solo in it and a great chorus. So throwing it on here.
Definitely. Number 5 for me, and another in 3D song, and another movie series that I'm a big fan of. The theme from Rocky 13, the Rye or the Kaiser. Now, back in the really, he's actually getting close to Rocky 13 now, if you count this whole
With
series.
the Creed.
Yeah, with the Creed series and everything, and Rocky Balboa. He's getting close to 13 now, so he actually opened a restaurant in Rocky Balboa, but I don't know if he was serving Rye or the Kaiser in that. But to hear The Eye of the Tiger, which was such a monumental hit for Survivor back in the day, and that the summer of 82 or 83 when Rocky 3 came out, that was everywhere. And to hear him do a parody of it, talking about Rocky retiring and opening a freaking deli. Where do these ideas come up from?
Right.
I'm telling you, where does this come up from? But yeah, the Rye, the Kaiser. Don't try the tuna. Don't try the tuna.
Don't try the tuna. Yeah. Oh, great stuff.
And like I said, I've actually found, doing my research, I've actually found something that in the last couple of days I've got to get on here and look up more about it. It's a Weird Al forum discussion page, and it goes through every album, song by song. Everybody's commenting on them, and I've got to go through here and look at these.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to this. But yeah, theme from Rocky 13 is my number 5.
Oh, nice. All right, so back to parody. So yeah, Yoda, which you talked about. I mean, it's got to be on here. The lyrics. I mean, you were going through some of them. I saw a little runt sitting there on a log, right?
Ask him his name, and in a tiny voice he said Yoda.
But they say, he bubbles like a carbonated soda, SODA soda. Just, oh my gosh. And again,
my rhyme with Dagobah.
Yeah, right. And so with my wife being such a big fan too, our kids heard all this stuff, because she was tired of listening to the Wiggles or whatever in the car.
Oh.
So she was, inserting some of this, and they loved it. And so they know a lot of these songs before the original, it's the opposite of us. We knew the originals.
Yeah.
And before he parodied them. But anyway,
I should have done that with my daughter. She was a big Star Wars. Look,
yeah,
my daughter's room when she was like 3 or 4 years old, pink room, had like Disney princess pictures all over the place. And then in the middle of the room was this huge Star Wars poster in the middle of the room. And everybody would come over there we said, we can tell she's your daughter.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, definitely. But I should have infused some of this into her.
Yeah, it worked. It worked pretty well. He should have. I'm surprised he never did a kids album. He never did.
He never did. You're right.
He
never did. He would probably be good at it.
He'd be great at it. The I know Darth Vader's really got you annoyed.
But remember, if you kill him, then you'll be unemployed. He went through that. You think about it. He went through that conversation between Obi-Wan and Yoda and Luke, and come up with a freaking verse right there.
A verse, yeah.
Darth Vader's really got you annoyed, but remember, if you kill him, then you'll be unemployed. Oh my Yoda.
So good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Yoda is a classic, and like I said, big Star Wars. That's why I wore this shirt tonight.
Yeah,
I don't have a Weird Al shirt, but I need to work on that. I need to get me a Weird Al shirt. So number 4 for me is another parody, and we talked about it a little bit earlier when you talked about Flythe, the Bedrock Anthem.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, when this starts off, and he does it, it talks about, it starts off with that Under the Bridge.
Right.
And then the lyric, when he talks about Barney Rubble, he's a midget, but he got a lot of trouble. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard at this video.
Oh,
and
yeah.
When I heard this song, I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, It's another Dick Van Patten cameo in the video. The B girl from Blind Melon is at the beginning of it.
She's at the beginning. Yeah.
And then, according to Al, when making the video, when he's up there, you see the tattoos. He drew fake tattoos of the Flintstone characters on his arm with the Sharpie. And then when they're out in the desert doing this video, and when the filming the video, he had got sunburnt everywhere except where he had drew the tattoos on.
Oh,
so he's got.
Oh no!
He's got the outlines of Flintstone characters on him for a while, but yeah, the Barney Rubble lyrics are the best right there. But for me, number 4 is Bedrock Anthem.
Fantastic.
So we're getting into top 3 now. What you got at number 3?
All right, so let's go. So we're gonna go with another original. This Is the Life from the Johnny Dangerously. And I mean, if anything, the fact that is such I guess that's a cult classic, really, that movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I hear it. Look, I don't know if you listen to, and I may be wrong, but Shout Out Loudcast, they made reference to Johnny Dangerously a couple of times up there that I've heard.
Oh,
so, yeah, I think it's a cult classic.
It's a cult classic. But again, just a great, style, 1920s, 30s music. Horns. There's a horn solo, but then it goes into an electric guitar solo, which is just ripping, which is so funny too, because of the style of the music. But Maroney. Yeah, the gangster.
Oh yeah,
Roman
Maroney. That's why they bring it up, because there's a guy that comments sometimes his last name's Maroney, and that's why they bring it up. I'm glad you said that. That is exactly why they bring it up, because not Roman Maroney. They call it. I think his name's Sal. And they say Sal, not Roman Maroney.
Not Roman Maroney. And I think they've played some clips from the movie too. It's so good. But always loved that. Always loved that song. It was perfect.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch Johnny Dangerously.
Oh
You got me wanting to watch it. Man.
So good. So good.
So I'm gonna kind of cheat on number 3 for me. And one of the things with every Weird Al album that I always look forward to, and I think it's only been a couple that he hasn't done it on, is a polka medley. Or either he will do like he did Bohemian Polka, but the polka medley was always something I look forward to, because he took all the little bits from every song you think of that at that time that was popular back then, that he had done parodies of already. But I remember hearing that the first time on in 3D, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so when the next album came out, and there was another one up there, I said, okay, he's going to make this a every album thing. So that was something to look forward to. But any polka medley that he does is just awesome. I'm a big fan of it. And who would have ever thought, I never in a million years thought I would be a fan of a freaking polka song. But Weird Al, you have done it. I mean, like I said, Bohemian Polka. I mean,
oh yeah. Well, and I wasn't a fan of the polkas.
No.
Like originally, off of those first few or whatever, for whatever reason, but I grew as he kept doing them, and I grew to like them. And I just mentioned to you that I had seen Weird Al a couple more times, so I'm going to have a couple more episodes. I may do like a ranking, Stevie. I might have to have you on.
Hey,
and we could rank,
bud, you tell me.
We could rank the polka songs.
It's a polka ranking party.
So that might be.
I love those polkas.
Yeah, so we might have to do that. They're a little bit more in the future. I'm in the 2000s right now of my concert chronology, and these were a little later. But that would be a blast. That would be a blast for sure. Yeah, nice.
All right, so number 2.
So I'm sticking with an original, but to me it's and you'll know what I'm talking about, because the video is a parody of a song, but the song's not exactly a parody. So off the deep end, You Don't Love Me Anymore. And I mean, just the fact, again, it's not, more than words. He's making fun of that video, even though the song isn't a parody.
Yeah.
But the delivery, I mean, the lyrics are so funny, but his delivery is so nonchalant, like trying to stay in the mood of the quote unquote love song, even though he's talking about different ways that she's trying to kill him or whatever. And
I think I just listened to that today.
Amazing. I can remember that video coming out and just loving the lyrics.
But isn't it amazing how he's how many decades? I mean, from the 80s, 90s, 2010s, and now in the 20s, that he has been there. I mean, and it has not been any letdown at all. I mean, it's been, it's gonna, people talk about, Betty White, don't let Betty White pass away.
Right.
And now it's like Dolly Parton's like protector. I'll throw Dolly Parton, but I'll throw Weird Al in there too.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how young the guy is. He's only 63.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I was like, I was 14 when he was 14 when I was born, and he was putting this out only.
Amazing. Yeah.
Amazing what he's done.
Well, and again, whether he had thought about this when he was getting started, but what an unbelievable model, right? Of doing parodies of obviously of songs. And he goes back and obviously parodies, was parodying older songs. But if you do the current stuff, you're always relevant.
Exactly.
You're always relevant.
That's what I'm saying.
It's amazing.
He has made every decade, the songs from that decade, he has found a way to parody the hit songs from that decade. It's just amazing to me. That's one of the reasons I love him so much. He's such a great artist.
Yep.
So number 2 for me is the one that started it all for me. And another one off in 3D, and we probably could have put the whole album up here, but Eat It.
Yeah.
And we were talking before we hit record about hearing that song on the radio the first time, and then I was like, "What the? This is." And I was big into Michael Jackson craze, and hearing the opening part of Beat It, but hearing it at a different key, I'm like, something's wrong with the freaking radio. And then hearing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, just a great cover. The video, I mean, and he hit that at the right time too. I mean, don't let him fool you. The guy's smart. He knew that if he did a Michael Jackson parody, then it was going to be great. To have the guy, some of the guys that were in the actual Beat It video, the dance choreographer, in that video,
the guy in the white suit,
have a nice day on the back,
right.
Yeah. Eat It, and this is funny here. In Australia, Eat It went to number 1. Guess what? Beat It didn't go number 1. Beat It was only at number 2. So the parody outranked the actual original. And then I remember him talking about, they were talking about the whole guitar solo, which the famous Eddie Van Halen guitar solo. Yep. They didn't know how they were going to pull that off. And Rick Derringer, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, and Real American Hulk Hogan guy comes in and does a great job with the guitar solo.
Well, he produced all of these too.
Yeah.
Which I never knew that really until recently. I thought that was
Rick Derringer is one of those guys. I mean, you think about the songs Rick Derringer, but Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, and then every little kid from the 80s knew Real American. I mean, with the Hulk Hogan song.
Yeah.
But,
right.
So to do the guitar solo for Eat It, that tops everything right there. And then to see the video where he does so many different things, and at the end when he puts the Alka-Seltzer and then turns around and he does the whole yellow eye thing like the Thriller video. So he knew what he was doing. He knew if he did enough Michael Jackson stuff at that time, he was gonna have a hit, and he did. So Eat It was what started it for me. Your table manners are crying shame. You're playing with your food. Is this some kind of game?
I think my favorite part of the video is the fight which is the guitar solo, and they've got that chicken or whatever, right, that they're holding on to. But the guitar solo and the guitar player exploding at the end of the guitar solo is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, great.
So well done. So well done.
All right, number one. Here we go.
So number one, I'm sticking with in 3D. And I talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but I lost on Jeopardy. Again, I mean, the fact that this is one of those songs where I think I heard this version first and thought the original, I thought it was, Our Love's in Jeopardy. I lost on Jeopardy. It just flows right off the tongue. And then again, you throw in the video, which is so good. And they use that guy,
from Saturday Night Live,
the Jeopardy announcer guy, right? And or whatever. And,
you have not won.
You don't even get a lousy copy of Our Home Game.
I remember seeing that video. That was, how did I see that video? Because it must have been on Friday Night Videos or something.
Yeah.
Because that's the only time, like I said, unless I was at a friend's house, that's the only time I got to see videos. Stay up
Friday night.
Stay up till 12:30 on Friday night and try to make it through it. But yeah. So number one for me, and like I said, there's a reason I wore this shirt tonight, and not just Yoda, but the saga begins.
Amazing.
And let me tell you, when I talked about it earlier, I said, hearing this song, knowing American Pie, because I had a guy that I went to school with. He would sit there and tell me, he broke down American Pie, what each line meant to me. He said, okay, that means that's talking about so-and-so, that's talking about so-and-so. And I was like, dude, you got too much time on your hands to start to do. But how they said, no, my mom and dad told me. But then when this came out, the whole Star Wars craze with the prequels is starting up.
Yep.
And he actually wrote a lot of this before the movie came out. I did not know this. He wrote a lot of it. Then he had to go back
and kind of
tweak it. He actually got to see a sneak peek of it.
Okay.
And he got to see a pre-release screen in the movie and to make sure it was accurate. And then he had to make some major changes after seeing the movie. But Don McLean said that he's the one I was talking about. Sometimes his parody lyrics sometimes creep into his head while he performs the song live. So can't you imagine him talking about bye Miss American Pie, and then he comes up maybe Vader someday later, but for now he's our guy. To watch that video, 5 minutes and 27 seconds long, and it's just
lyric,
clicks. Clicks. And why in the world? I don't understand this. One of the facts here, Radio Disney would play the song. They censored the line, "Do you see him hitting on the Queen?"
Oh, my goodness.
And simply by cutting it out of the song, Al thought this sounded horrible and released a version where he sings, "Do you see him talking to the Queen?"
Yeah. Come on.
Little kids are going to see the movie anyway. They know what he's talking about. Right. Why in the world? But video is hilarious.
Yep.
He fits that whole, like I said, with Yoda, with The Empire Strikes Back, he fits the whole Phantom Menace into that 5 minutes and 27 seconds song.
I think, even though I had Yoda on my list, if I would have done all parodies, this probably would have made it too. Because lyrically, unbelievable what he was, and like you said, he wrote it before it
came out. He did a lot of it.
Wow. And it's like, geez, that's unbelievable. Actually,
he was a pubescent flying ace, and the minute Jabba started off that race, well, I knew who would win first place. Oh yes, it was our boy. But the funniest thing is just near the end. We caught a ride back to Naboo because Queen Amidala wanted to. I frankly would have liked to stay. We all fought that epic war, and it wasn't long at all before the little hotshot flew his plane to save the day. This is where it gets good.
Yeah.
In the end, some Gungans died, some ships blew up, some pilots fried, a lot of folks were croaking, the battle droids were broken, and the Jedi I admire most met up with Darth Maul, and now he's toast. But I'm still here, and he's a ghost.
Yes.
Yes, I'll train this boy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, just brilliant.
And it's when he does it live, it's a big production. He's got stormtroopers coming out on stage, and you got a Darth Vader walking around, and all the rest of the band is dressed up like Jedis, and it's
evidently George Lucas approved for him to be able to do all that
stuff. Very cool. Yeah, very, very cool.
So that's our top 10.
Nice.
Have you got any honorable mentions out there?
Oh, well, why don't you give yours? I do.
Like I said, you talked earlier about Taco Grande. That was one of mine. Albuquerque.
Oh yeah.
One of mine. One More Minute, which was
yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Great. Yes. That's a great one.
I Lost on Jeopardy. Gump.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Christmas at Ground Zero and Like a Surgeon. That was my honorable mentions. And I get kidded a lot because people say I've got like 30,000 honorable mentions at it. So why don't you just say the whole thing? But yeah, that's my honorable mentions.
Yeah. So I would say, well, this song is just 6 words long. I think is very clever. I mean, again, poking fun again at kind of the lyrics, similar to Nirvana. Just the fact that he says the same thing over and over again. I thought Alimony was actually pretty good too, and at least he did the live version of that live version of Billy Idol's Mony Mony rocks with Steve Stevens on guitar. But there's some funny lyrics in there. Good Old Days was that James Taylor style off of I think these are all off of that Even Worse album. And good. How about The Biggest Ball of Twine?
I didn't think about that one.
Gordon Lightfoot, rest in peace, right? And
just passed away.
Harry Chapin in there as well. So, and again, the ones, I mean, most of the stuff that you mentioned, obviously. Oh, I Can't Watch This. You can't leave that one out.
Yeah,
that was great too. I mean,
I'll tell you one I did not think of, and that just hit me, was the Money for Nothing Beverly Hillbillies.
Yes.
The way he made the start of the Beverly Hillbillies show fit Money for Nothing there at the end.
Yes.
God.
Now, and again, we've been talking about obviously all of our favorites. Unfortunately, there have been some misses.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, I Want a New Duck.
Quack, quack, quack.
Yeah, there was just some of the stuff
that was a little too silly.
Was too forced. Yeah, it just didn't quite work. But he's definitely got more hits than misses.
Refused, sure. And I'm reading a little bit about refused parodies, and evidently there was some that got turned down, and he didn't.
Interesting.
Among parodies that Yankovic had ideas for, including one based on "Let's Go Crazy," about the Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay.
So maybe that had to get changed to.
So you resurrected it, and used it somewhere else.
Yellow Snow as a parody of Purple Rain. So evidently Prince wasn't a big.
I've heard that. I heard about that before. I don't know where I read it.
1999 as an infomercial with call-in number ending in 1999 and parodies of Kiss and When Doves Cries.
Oh wow.
So, but it says, despite these refusals, and I remember this on the video, Yankovic was able to get permission to parody the When Dove Cries video as part of the music video for the song VHF.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's see. Another one interesting here. Led Zeppelin guitarist Jimmy Page is a self-proclaimed Yankovic fan, but when Yankovic suggested the idea of creating a Zeppelin polka medley, Page was less than thrilled with the prospect, so Weird Al didn't pursue it.
So I wonder if
example of Black Dog for a segment of Trapped in the Drive-Thru.
So I wonder if Jimmy would have approved just a single song.
I don't know. It said Paul McCartney refused Yankovic permission to record a parody of Wings' "Live and Let Die" titled. Oh God, this is the first time I heard this. Titled "Chicken Pot Pie," because according to Yankovic, McCartney is a strict vegetarian.
Oh,
and didn't want a parody that condoned the consumption of animal flesh. So McCartney suggested possibly changing the name to Tofu Pot Pie. I don't know if that'll work. But anyway,
good stuff.
That's pretty interesting because I never knew that about
Prince
stuff.
Yeah, me neither. That's interesting.
That's interesting. Okay, so that's our 10. Let's recap. Brad's number 10 is My Bologna. His number 9 is I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead. Number 8, I Think I'm a Clone Now. Number 7, Midnight Star. Number 6, Taco Grande. Number 5, UHF. Number 4, Yoda. Number 3, This Is the Life. Number 2, You Don't Love Me Anymore. And number 1, I Lost on Jeopardy. My list. Number 10, Mr. Popeil. Number 9, Amish Paradise. Number 8, Yoda. Number 7, Smells Like Nirvana. Number 6, Nature Trail to Hell. Number 5, Theme from Rocky 13. Number 4, Bedrock Anthem. Number 3, Any of the Polkas. Number 2, Eat It. And number 1, The Saga Begins. So you guys out there, we'll put this up. We'll put our list up on Twitter and the Facebook group. You tell us what you think. You tell us what your favorite Weird Al songs, if you have one out there, or, I hope to hear from a lot of Weird Al fans out there. I hope some of them will come out of the closet and tell us, I've been a Weird Al fan for all this time because, it's just he's such a genuine person. From what I see in the interviews, he's always got the same demeanor. Seems like a great guy. Brad, before we let you go, tell us where we can find the Slamfest podcast and where we can find you on social media.
Yeah, so most of the social media is Facebook. Like you're talking about all the polls and everything with regards to the episode that is most recent. So yeah, we come out Thursday mornings unless I see a current show. I might need an extra day to put the recap together. So occasionally on Fridays, but mostly on Thursdays. And Apple and Stitcher, those are the two big ones where people can find me. And it's just Slamfest Podcast.
Yeah, guys, check him out. I promise, if you are a fan of music, and you'll look, I've actually looking at the polls. People, if you've watched the show, I do a album challenge list where I've got my list right here. As a matter of fact, it's not in the computer. It's on an old-fashioned notebook that I listen to all these albums that I probably wouldn't have listened to before. And I have found some albums off Brad's polls that I wouldn't listen to before. And I've checked them out just because of what I've seen in the polls. And guys, check them out on Facebook. Like I said, check them out on Apple and Stitcher. Check them out everywhere you see on social media and just give them a follow and give them a like and listen to the Slamfest. And I'm going to hold you to that when you do the poker show.
That would be, because I've got to come up with, on my previous show, I just went up to, I think, Off the Deep End, talking about the albums. I gotta go forward, but I need some additional content for those and the polkas. That'd be great. Yeah.
We'll have a poker party.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you so much, Brad, for taking time out of your schedule doing this. We really appreciate it. Guys, that is Brad Rusthoven from the Slamfest Podcast.
Stevie, thanks for having me. It was great.
Thank you, buddy.